G'day folks. Where do I start? Goodness me. A bit has gone on since the last video. Well, I went to the track and had a great time actually. And we ended up getting a good air fuel, around 7-8 on the Lambda. And I was actually very happy with it. Now we were on 15 pounds a boost. Oh, I saw 14 pound anyway, but so we had good air fuel, but we pushed a gasket. We managed to push one on number 7 cylinder, which is this here. Sorry, I didn't put it on. I had it on the engine before. I'll sit it on there and I'll show you. Yeah, number 7, pushed it into the coolant passage, as you can see there. So, I've had a few days to think about this, guys, and work out what's really going on. Well, it's pretty obvious to a lot of you guys, but I've got a real bad air distribution issue going on. I've pretty much got the carby, 80%, I suppose. It's a lot better on tip-in. It's actually performing really well, and it goes a little bit on the ridge, sort of low 0.7s. Once it gets into it, it doesn't bog, and it sort of cleans up a little bit up the top to about 7.7, 7.8. And I thought in my book that was pretty good. Which in turn is, but the trouble is, we're getting back to manifold problems. Obviously, it's not delivering enough air and fuel, or fuel, into number 7. So obviously 7 pounds a boost, doesn't mind it, but when we get up a little bit, it seems to be on the struggle side of number 7. Now, I'll show you this, guys, as well. These are I'll get the torch, and I'll show you. Now this is the right-hand side, so that'd be this top one here's number 1, 3, 5, and 7. Now, on inspection, number 7, it just confirms again that it's the whitest looking pipe out of the lot of them. It mightn't really show it on that camera, but when you get down and look at it, so that one's that's a good one. They're very similar. That number 3's a little bit on the warm side, but when you look at number 7, it's really, really white compared to the rest of them. And then we get back over this side, on the left-hand side bank, and it's actually not too bad. So it's looking to me, when you get looking at it on the right-hand side, as we go down further on the bank, it just gets worse and worse. And obviously number 7's the leanest out of them all, because it's the one that's pushed out. So what do we do? Where do we go? Well, originally I was going to put another manifold on it. But the trouble is, guys, this little talker manifold has incredible throttle response and low down torque. I love it. My only other option is, if I go to a Highrise manifold, there's 2 versions I can get. There's a torque power Highrise. It has injector bosses in it, just note that. And there's a Peter Michaels, well, it's called a Strip Master. Apparently that one's slightly smaller in the runners, still delivers incredible power in A. They're both rip snorter manifolds. But the issue, well, the main concern I'm having with it, well, that's to basically, well, hang on, we'll back step a little bit. The idea with the high-rise manifold is to try and get some distribution happening, because, well, and that was my sort of answer, guys, to all of it, was to try and get some even distribution. And I look, a lot of the blow-through guys are running high-rise manifolds, you know, and that's good, because obviously they're having success with it, and it must improve on the air fuel distribution through to each cylinder, or make it acceptable anyway. But I'm in a conundrum, because if I go putting a taller manifold on it, it's going to kill this engine, and be honest, I don't want to lose out on that real low down throttle response, because remember, I've only got a 2.5 stall converter. It's not a manual, you see, so I'm governed. I really need to pull hard around 2.5-ish. That's when the converter starts to sort of really lock up. And I need that. And if I lose any more of that, it's going to become a real slug, in the sense it just, you know, that sort of 500-700 revs of NA state, or say 1,000 revs, worst case scenario, where I haven't got no boost, and I'm having to rely on like a small manifold to really, to get into it quickly. Now, if I go put a high-rise on it, obviously it's just going to make it that much more, just less responsive. I mean, these manifolds, on further, investigation, the torque power one doesn't really operate till around 4,250. So you just need to get airspeed going for it to really kick in. These manifolds are more for top end in NA form. Now, a lot of the guys that are running high-rise manifolds through turbo applications are drag racers. You know, they've got 4,500, 5,000 stalls, and all that jazz. I haven't got the luxury of, just forgetting about the low down revs. It's very important to me, because, as soon as I bog down and struggle a little bit, it's going to take time for the turbo to kick in. And it just makes it a real challenge to drive. So I'm half thinking about not bothering with a big manifold just for the moment. I don't, because they're $1,000 basically. I'd rather know what I've got. It's better that, what's that saying? Better to know the devil. Oh, there's some saying, but I know what it is now. I know that obviously number 7 is very crucial to getting fueling in. So I've thought about this, and I'm going to stick with the manifold for now on this one. It's proven itself. It is a good little manifold, but obviously once you go up in boost, it all changes. So what I'm going to do for now, obviously put it all back together, but I'm going to I've got another air fuel ratio gauge ordered. It's a little Innovate dial one, so a 2-inch dial one, digital readout with a little light around sort of the radius of it to give you the, and it's an Innovate one, so it's the same as my digital one, or same branding. So anyway, we're going to put this on number 7, as well as I keep my main one for my collective reading, and I can do a reading on number 7. And let's see if we can try and, get that in the sweet spot. And that can be my sort of go-to readout. And like I said, and then I've got my other air fuel ratio gauge to do a collective readout. And hopefully I can sort of just fine-tune that and get some fuel into the number 7. Now, there are ways of getting fuel if things are a bit of an issue into that into number 7. The thing is, if I fatten this carb up, and just richen it back up and get it back to number 7 where it's close, well, there's nothing to say that the rest of the cylinders are going to be rich, obviously, be very rich. So you can, in the turbo world, in the blow through world, a lot of guys are saying you can tweak your jetting by, you know, a couple of sizes to try and encourage some more fuel into number 7. So this is where I'm going to sort of try and fatten it up a little bit, and then I can take a collective reading and say, well, if it's richer on the collective, but it's acceptable on the number 7, I might even be able to say pull a bit of a jet out of this, say it's 1 or 2 jets out of this, and lean the other cylinders up a little bit and try and even it all out as best as I can. It's going to take some time, but it's the only road I'm going to, well, I feel, by sticking with this manifold, keeping the low end revs, which I want, and by trying to dial in this manifold and get it to an acceptable level on all the sort of cylinders, because we obviously know number 7's, you know, suffering big time. You know, it's funny, guys, when I had the clock, when I had that other carb hat on, I had it clocked this way. Number 1 was shocking, and that was the one that was always plaguing me. Then I ran it back around that way where it is now with the new carb hat. Number 4 was shocking. So on the short turn, I'll just scroll in up there. On that short turn of the manifold, so on the bottom side where it comes around real, that was the problem area for the carb. So now that we've got the big manifold on, carb hat, sorry, number 7, it's over this side. So we're going to stick with what we got. We know what's going on with it, and we're going to try and tune this one up a little bit and try and keep these ones, or the rest of these, the rest of the fueling, you know, sort of acceptable. It may be on the rich side, and that one may be acceptable. I could live with that. E85, it doesn't mind being a bit rich. It actually it clears itself and it comes on beautifully. But now that I've leaned it up to sort of the 0.78 overall, exposes this one. So before I was running sort of low 7s, 7.1, 7.2, seemed fine. 15 pound, didn't worry it, because this one here would have been acceptable. But obviously these ones here were rich as anything. So like I said, we can try and say jet up the rear secondary up a couple here and there if we need to fatten this one up without sort of maybe not affecting the rest of them. It's something to, you know, down the track. So this is I'll tell you now, guys, this is going to be my last ditch effort before, if I can't rectify this and we have just continual problems with it, a taller manifold, I just can't run with a taller manifold, because honestly the engine and the package that I got's not designed for it. Yes, it'll make incredible power once it comes on, it'd be friggin' unbelievable, but it's not what it's all about with my style of racing. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but yeah, I'm going to give this a red hot crack, and I feel I can really overcome this, because at the end of the day, it's a terrific little manifold. I don't really want to race any more than about 15 pounds of boost. I think it's going to be enough, you know, but I want to be able to race on that. So it's just a matter of dialing these in. Big believer in these head gaskets too, guys. So I'm not putting any steel head gaskets on it until I know damn well all of these are getting good fueling, and then it becomes a reliability issue. Well, fair enough, I may look into that. But for now, these will hold on my sort of small 15 pounds of boost with a good tune. But anyway, that's life. I've copped a lot of blows with this engine, but look, I tell you what, I'm taking so much more away with this. It's incredible what I'm learning. There's a lot more to it, guys, in blow-through carbs than just bolting a carb on and going for it. There's a lot involved in it. All right, folks, well, I'll pop one up when I get a bit further along, and yeah, we'll go from there. But it's real interesting stuff. I'm chasing up a set of rear discs too. I'll show you that before I go. I'm going to put up another video, guys, of my first run down there. And you'll see me, I had a little lock-up on one of the corners coming off the start finish line, and my rear brakes were locking up. I've just completely worn that shoe down, and we were metal on metal, so no wonder she locked them up. It felt really touchy, it was horrible. So say goodbye to them drum brakes. We're looking into a nice big set, whatever I can fit under the rear inside my wheels, or whatever the biggest ones they make, to suit the package that I've got. I'm going through the same crowd, hopper stoppers, and see if they can do me up a set for the rear and keep that bias nice. We don't want too much back brake, but we do need a fair bit because the car is balanced incredibly well. Alright guys, I'll put one up when I get a bit further along and clean it all up, and I'll go from there. Alright folks, well, the journey's just beginning again. Alright, I'll catch you later.